Georgia offensive coordinator Mike Bobo has a chance to silence the haters once and for all during the Sugar Bowl, and I'm going to explain why in this video. But first, we've got to talk about the quarterbacks, right? It starts and ends with the quarterback, and I'll tell you what, my phone has been blowing up this week with questions about, how's Carson feeling? Is he going to be ready for the Sugar Bowl? What are your thoughts on Gunnar Stockton? Can he lead this team to a championship? All different types of stuff. I mean, my phone hasn't been blowing up this much since Zach Evans almost committed to Georgia out of high school years ago. And I don't want to think about that ever again, to be honest with you. But I'm hearing from everyone, friends, family, people I went to high school with, I haven't seen in 10 years. Everyone wants to know about Carson Beck. So I'm going to talk about that in this video and break down what Mike Bobo needs to do to help Gunnar Stockton lead them to victory in the Sugar Bowl. So as it relates to Carson Beck, I don't think he's going to play in the Sugar Bowl. He's getting a second opinion on his arm, the elbow, right? Basically the whole arm. They're all looking into it. And I don't expect him to play in the Sugar Bowl. And I don't think he's going to be 100% whether they win the Sugar Bowl or not. So if you're Mike Bobo, you have to make one game plan. You cannot make a game plan for two quarterbacks going into the Sugar Bowl, right? There's only 2.5 weeks left. So he's got to make a decision, and I think he's already made it. Gunnar Stockton needs to be the guy, and I think he really has to be the guy in the Sugar Bowl. We'll see if Carson Beck can come back and come somewhere close to 100% after that. But I'll tell you what, if Gunnar Stockton leads them to victory over Indiana or Notre Dame, and he looks halfway decent doing it, you've got to go with Gunnar Stockton. And I think Mike Bobo has a chance to really, make it known that, hey, the doubters are wrong, the haters are wrong, and he's got 2 weeks to prepare a game plan for just one of them, and it needs to be Gunnar Stockton. And I've talked about this in another video. He is very familiar with Gunnar, but it's going to take some time. They've got 2 weeks, though, and that's where this bye is so important. Because if Gunnar's the guy, and he needs to be, because 100% Gunnar is better than 50, 60% Carson Beck, it's Mike Bobo's job to change the whole offense, basically, because they're two completely different quarterbacks. Obviously, Carson is more of a pocket passer, right, with a big arm. Not saying Gunnar doesn't, but he's a true pocket passer with some mobility. He can escape and make plays with his legs here and there, and we've seen him do that, right? Dude's not a statue. Gunnar Stockton is a true dual threat. For him to be at his best, he needs to run the ball. And there are things that Carson can do that I'm not sure Gunnar is 100% capable of, right? Those tunnel screens, those bubble screens, Carson Beck plays that like a shortstop. He gets the ball and he turns, he gets that bad boy out quick. And that's why a lot of the times we've seen that type of play work. But Gunnar, the release is a little slower. There's more of a wind up there. Now he's got zip on the ball, but I'm not sure you can call as many of those tunnel and bubble screens to those receivers or tight ends or whoever on the perimeter with Gunnar as much as you can with Carson. It's still part of the offense. They're still going to try to bring that into the fold. But, Gunnar is kind of an ideal, run option, RPO type of quarterback. And when he came into the game, it's easy to see why the run game kind of evolved as well. Defenses know that Carson is not going to beat them with his legs. He can pick up a key first down, right? A big third down, fourth down. He can escape and make plays, but they don't have to worry about him using his legs to make play after play after play. With Gunnar, you do. Gunnar can run through you, right? He's got tree trunks for legs. He's 220. He's got a muscular build, and again, dude plays like a warrior, and we saw that a little bit. Now, there are going to be some hiccups. There's going to be some bumps and bruises, like the terrible interception he threw that could have cost them the game against Texas. I mean, that's just stuff you can't do. And the more he plays, the more he'll kind of figure that out. But Mike has to put a game plan together that fits Gunnar's style of play, which is not what fits Carson. Again, they're two different quarterbacks. And with, 2 weeks to put something together, you can't come up with two game plans, one or the other. He's got to make a decision, and it's got to be Gunnar for the Sugar Bowl. And so it's up to Mike to put something together that fits what Gunnar Stockton does best. They have to use him as a runner, right? Some direct quarterback type of runs, but, covering Gunnar and covering Carson for years. I cover the team, but I also cover recruiting too. And I watched both of them play in high school. I know what they bring to the table. And what makes Gunnar special is his ability to kind of create when things go wrong, right? He can adapt to a play that's not going well, a broken play. He can turn it into something. And we saw him do it constantly at Raven County, but he's not going up against Raven County in the Sugar Bowl. He's going up against either a Notre Dame defense or an Indiana defense that's solid. Both of those teams are strong defensively and they're well coached. So it's up to Mike to put Gunner and the rest of the offense in a position to where they can be successful. And, you know, we saw Gunner throw it around a little bit. It looked good. I mean, the dude has zip on that ball. I mean, I think it was the first, maybe this is the second pass down the field was to Arian Smith, put it on his chest. I mean, that's a ball that could not be dropped, right? Even Arian Smith was catching that ball 100% because it went right to him. Gunner pinned it on him. It was a fastball, but he put it right between the numbers, making it a little easier for Aaron to catch that ball. And then the throw to Lawson Lucky was elite. It was an elite throw on the run, elite catch. And so you definitely see why the Georgia staff, Mike Bobo, Kirby Smart, the whole team, why they believe in Gunner. And I believe in Gunner. I think Gunner Stockton could be a really, really good quarterback. And because of the way he plays, he does bring Georgia something different that Carson doesn't. And Mike Bobo has got to put it together. I want to see some RPOs. I want to see the run read option, any type of option where can either hand it to the quarterback or the running back, to fool the defenders, fool those linebackers, the pre-snap movement that they have going on. If you have a guy like Gunner who is fast enough, but he's also a strong runner, he can run between the tackles. And I'm not an offensive coordinator yet, right? Mike Bobo's been doing this for a long time. So I've got high expectations for Mike Bobo, who has, again, 2 weeks to prepare. I say 2 weeks, but a lot of it depends on who they're playing, right? Because you have to kind of adapt and scheme against a specific defense. Right now, this whole week is working on themselves, working on Gunner and you know, implementing some stuff that he can be comfortable with. But next week, it's all about how do we attack Indiana's defense? How do we attack Notre Dame's defense? And again, Mike's been doing this a long time, and he's got a quarterback who can run. And that's normally not what he has. He is a guy who can develop quarterbacks from the pocket, guys with big arms. So, and Gunner has that too. But if you're Mike, you've got a guy who can do a little bit of everything, right? And we haven't seen Gunner be able to win games with his arm and lead Georgia, you know, to epic come from behind wins, right? But he hasn't had the chance to. He hasn't had that ability because Carson's been the guy. Carson has shown that he can win games with his arm without a running game, with receivers dropping passes left and right. And while it certainly hasn't been pretty, and we've been critical of Carson when it's time to be critical, but he also deserves praise too when he does throw for 5 touchdowns and no interceptions and leads Georgia to an 8 overtime victory against Georgia Tech. I hope people don't forget that Carson Beck and the Carson Beck that played well once again against top 10 Tennessee, right? But this Sugar Bowl is going to be about Gunner and Mike's ability to put something together that works with Gunner, the offensive line, because it's going to open up the run game too. So I do think, you know, Nate Frazier, Trevor Etienne, they're going to get touches too, and linebackers aren't going to be focused on them the whole time because now Georgia's got a quarterback who can take off and make plays with his feet in a big way. And again, he'll truck you, but he's also got enough speed to get to the perimeter and then up the field. But the dude's tough to tackle. He's fallen down for extra yards, and I think they've got a quarterback who, you know, on a key 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 4th and inches, they've got a quarterback who can just plow right up the middle and use those big legs to move the chains. I mean, he can move the chains constantly with his feet if given the opportunity to do so. And I think it's up to Mike and Georgia to draw up and scheme up a game plan that allows Gunner to make plays both with his arm, because he can. I mean, dude's a record-breaking quarterback at the high school level. He can zing it, right? He can fling that football a long way. But they have to put him in a position to where he can make a lot of plays with his legs, because that's the X factor part. That's why they recruited him, because he is a true dual threat quarterback who can beat defenses in a lot of different ways. But they have to put a real firm game plan together now, right? Every week they're putting something together for Carson because he was the starting quarterback. But now you have to put Gunner in a position to where he can be successful. And if he is, it's going to be hard to take him out, even if Carson becomes, you know, closer and closer to being 100%. But if Gunner goes out and has a great game against Notre Dame or Indiana and they win and he looks good doing it, I think at that point, it is Gunner moving forward. And I hate that for Carson. He is in a tough spot. But at the end of the day, this is a big 2 weeks, not only for Gunner, but for Mike Bobo. And if he puts a game plan together that allows Gunner to help light up the scoreboard and Georgia rushes for over 200 yards because of him, and the offensive line starts to gel a little bit better with him out there, and the running backs see more opportunities because of Gunner, I think it's going to be massive for Mike Bobo, and will show that he is one of the better play callers in the country. It always doesn't look like that at times, but I still think he is that. When the receivers are catching the ball and the offensive line is helping the quarterback out as the camera shakes, there are times when Mike Bobo is an elite play caller, and he has a chance to prove it again in these next couple weeks. So big 2 weeks for Gunner, big 2 weeks for Mike Bobo too. We'll see if he can silence the doubters. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'll see you over on the website.